Hello, everyone. Welcome to Short Sisters Podcast. I am one of the hosts. I'm Kathy Allison, and this is,
I'm Ellen Bishop.
yes, my co-host. We are so glad that you have decided to take a quick listen to see what we're about. This particular episode is going to be about how Ellen and I met, and we're going to talk not just about how we met, but we're also going to talk about what our goals and our hopes are in this podcast. I can tell you we're both very excited about it, right, Ellen?
Yes, I'm super excited about this. I know I'm hoping that this will be something that is a ministry to other ladies who are in the midst of in motherhood, and even not only just necessarily motherhood, but I mean we're going to be talking about so many different things. We have so many plans. We have an organized list, y'all.
Yeah,
We're
our
super
husbands
excited.
made fun of us.
I know they have a podcast themselves, and they kind of go
With the flow.
with the flow. And I'm like, I can't do that.
Mhm.
I'm first of all, I'm a teacher, and I'm an organizer, so I have to have my list.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So that is something that I'm very excited about as we've talked about this podcast. So you're going to have to bear with us as we learn the ins and the outs and deal with the awkwardness of trying to figure out how does the podcasting world work. But
right.
we're
Well,
getting
even
there.
just looking at different cameras,
yes.
if you were in the room that we're recording this podcast, it's like, which camera do you look at? How
Not
far
only
away?
that, my husband just ordered this little fancy thing over here. We got to push buttons. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, her husband's in
Video production.
so he's all into that. I'm just like, just tell me where to talk and where to look, and I'll go with the flow.
Yeah. Okay, so if you see me like reaching my hand over here, it's because I'm pushing buttons, and why not?
Yes, it's a work in progress, ladies.
Yes.
It'll get better, promise.
It will. And we might forget, and that's just on my husband because he's going to have to be the one who edits. This is really for him to make editing easier. Okay, so one of the things we're going to do in our podcast, and I think we should do it at the beginning so that we get it out of the way, is we are going to try different desserts. Some will be store-bought, some will be homemade. We will share our review and our thoughts on it and what it potentially could go well with, like dinner-wise, if we get in the mood for that.
Yeah.
And then we'll share links to the actual desserts that we've made. Some of them are going to be store-bought.
Like tonight.
We'll tell you where we got them, and if you have the store, you could get them there. And if not, we're really sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure wherever you're at, you'll be able to find it. So.
Yes. So I'm gonna have Ellen try.
Oh.
You pick which one you want to try.
This is my fork, right?
Yes.
Okay. So excuse me while I lean in,
and
lean
I'll talk
out.
while she's trying and tasting.
Yep.
So I wish you could have seen me cutting the dessert for tonight. Ellen's like, "Where's the frosting, Kathy?" I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing. I need help."
It got stuck on the box.
We will also tell you that these particular desserts are pretty high in calorie.
Yeah, I told her not to look at the calorie count on the box. Let's just say that this is why we've kind of halved them and are just taking bites out of them. So I had the cookies and cream dessert, and these cakes were from Kroger in our neighborhood, in our community. So if you have a Kroger, and they had a special, it was buy two, and it was $6. And these are probably cakes that they made during the day, like in the beginning of the day, and then they didn't sell. And then what they did was they cut 2 big pieces and then put them in a plastic container, and then they sold them at a reduced price. But they're really, really good. And you are eating.
I'm going to jump in here now and say I'm eating the lemon cake. It is very refreshing. It would be a perfect dessert at summertime. I'm already imagining sitting on the back porch while the kids play in the swimming pool and the sprinkler, enjoying this delicious piece of lemon cake.
The frosting smell good.
My son would love both, but he loves lemon anything, so he would devour this.
Well, when you open the container, I could smell the frosting. This was the one where she destroyed the frosting. Got stuck to the container. I was like, Kathy, where's the frosting at? She said, I don't know. It's stuck.
I apologize. I'm going to eat this whole. You need to try the lemon.
Okay. Well, you need to eat some of the cookies and cream of this. Look at this. See, I can't even pick this up with a fork.
That's one thing we're going to do. No. Let me take a drink of this water, and I want to talk about how Ellen and I met. I love to share these stories because she gets to hear my perspective of how we met. And then she'd be like, well, that's funny. I forgot about that. Or, oh, I remember that. And then she can share her memories and we can piggyback off. So.
Excuse us while we drink water because these are really rich desserts. So if y'all don't want to cook any dessert, you didn't have time because Kathy was intending to cook the dessert for tonight. And then she texted me and said, I'm so sorry. I was getting texts, phone calls this evening. I'm trying to fix dinner. I didn't make a dessert. I said, no worries. I will run to the store and I will pick something up.
And y'all, she was so gracious. She did that. And on top of that, I'm like, look, between my hectic day, I didn't get to do a lot of cleaning. And she's like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
No big deal.
That's how you know this is a friend worth keeping.
So come to my house.
Here is how we met. I'm going to do a little bit of background. And maybe this might be another podcast, the background part. But pre-COVID, my husband and I were a part of a church called Baptist Church of the Redeemer. And then Ellen and Chad were part of a church called College Park Baptist Church. And before COVID, our churches were in the discussion of merging together. And so it was kind of a long process. There was a lot of Q&As and whatnot. And then our churches both churches voted to merge, and we merged. Our official Sunday, I believe, was that like right at the beginning of COVID?
It literally was right at the beginning of COVID, I think, because I think I remember we actually came on together
on Zoom, right?
Zoom. And I do remember this because it was quite funny because there were some people that didn't understand Zoom. I have to tell this story.
Oh man, I think I know what story you're telling. Go on.
So my mother and father-in-law, so they had never been on Zoom before. And so my husband and I were at home on Zoom. And so we were watching, because his mother and his dad went to College Park with us. So when we merged, but anyways, I was watching them on Zoom, and I could tell they were trying to figure out how to turn on Zoom. Mother-in-law started yelling at my father-in-law. And I told my husband, I said, we put it, because we're teachers, we've already been teaching online, so we know how to turn on and off the mic, how to blur the video, all of that. And I told my husband to put it on mute. And I looked at my husband and I said, you need to text your mother right now and tell her that they're on the mic and you can hear and see her yelling at your dad. And so he was like, yeah. So I think he did. And then they kind of backed off, but it was just funny because we were just sitting there laughing going, I don't think they know that they're on It could be seen and heard on Zoom.
Yeah.
But it was funny. So, but we all came on, and that's
didn't
how we met.
Yeah. We all, I think our first official Sunday as a new church was on Zoom. And I think we all like said the statement of faith together. And then we all.
So long ago.
It was. It's crazy to think
2.5 years ago. What, 3 years? Did we merge?
3.
Yeah. 3 years.
It was 2020 in March. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, our churches merged, and obviously for the first few weeks we weren't meeting in person. And then our church started to meet in person. And I don't know, it was probably a couple Sundays after we were meeting. We happened to be standing outside at our church. There's like this little foyer area where a lot of people kind of gather and talk after the service.
Yeah.
And Chad and Ellen invited my husband and me, and then our pastor and his wife.
Yes.
Over for steak night.
Oh, okay.
And
yes.
Ellen made some comment of my house, like her house being messy, and so she was a little bit stressed. And I said this to her. It's like,
I do remember this.
Look, I don't care if your house is messy. Like, I said something like, it's fine if it's messy. In fact, this is how I know we're going to be good friends, because I like friends that are messy. So much so that, like, even if you cuss a little bit, I'll be your friend.
I did. And I looked at her.
And she did. She was like, okay. I could tell she was like, huh? Like, I don't know about this person.
No.
But the reason why
it put me at ease, though. It really did.
The reason why I said that is because one of my dear best friends, there's more than one like memory as like of why I could say that she's one of my best friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I will never forget when something fell and landed on her toe. And you all know when stuff hits your toe.
And if you're wearing sandals,
it hurts.
Yeah.
And sometimes bad words come out of your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're human.
And so this friend, she was like, oh, shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurt. So you know what word she said? And I was like, we're best friends. She looked at me like, huh? I was like, here's why we're best friends.
Yeah.
And here's why I made that comment to Ellen. I'm not saying that she needs to go off cussing so that we'll be best friends. I'm just saying that for me, I want real and authentic friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you are willing to let me come into your home that's a mess, that you aren't hiding anything and pretending you have it all put together.
And she put me at ease when she said that, and I laughed and I was like, yeah, we are. In my head, I was thinking, yeah, I think we're gonna get along fine.
So then they had us over for dinner, and it was amazing. We sat around and talked for hours.
So let me give you background on that. I don't know if you remember when y'all came over to our house, what happened to our fence?
Did it break?
It caught on fire.
That's right.
So what had happened was, my brother at the time, he was staying with us. He was outside smoking a cigarette and thought he had put out the cigarette, and comes back in the house. We're all just kind of hanging out in the house, and all of a sudden our doorbell rings. And I do remember faintly smelling something and going, oh, somebody's barbecuing. Okay, I'm thinking somebody's barbecuing. And it's her neighbor, and she's literally flailing her arms. She's going, she couldn't even get the words out. Oh my God. Like, and Chad's like, what? She's like, your fence is on fire. We open the door, and our back fence is literally inflamed, like it's on fire, and the flames are shooting up high to the point where I remember at one point it was matching the roof. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And Chad's like, call 911. So we're running around. I'm calling 911. We're getting out of the house. We're backing the cars out. We're putting my husband is putting the hose on the fence to put the fire out.
This was the day we're coming over to your house for dinner?
It was the day before you guys came over.
Oh, okay.
It was the day before they came over. So when they came over, we had to explain to them, okay, look, listen, just want to explain something to you. And so we went out, showed the guys. I showed our pastor and Jason. The guys went out, and then Kathy and our pastor's wife, Alicia, we just hung out in the house. And so it was embarrassing because I had a burnt fence, and it was a mess. Everything was, the garbage can, I remember, was half melted. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are people from our new church, and they're in my house in my backyard, caught on fire. So, but I say that to say, when you reminded me of what you had said to me, I was like, oh, yeah, we're going to be friends because you came over to my house the day after my fence had burned down. And it was a hot mess back there, y'all. I mean, we cleaned up the backyard because I knew that the men would be grilling back there because all of the burnt, charred fence was around the corner in a wheelbarrow behind our house. Y'all didn't see it. But anyways, but yeah, they hung out. Gosh, y'all were there late.
Yeah.
After 10, I think.
And one of the things that Jason and I like to do, we got this idea from a good friend of mine who is still at University Park Baptist Church. We actually are not still at church together. Yeah. In fact, last Sunday... Is that you or is that me?
I think that's you.
Jason Mark. It's Jason. My husband. Well, this is fun and convenient. What you don't know that's happening right now is there's like a ringtone in our ears. And I'm like, that's not me. It's Jason.
I was like about to yell into the microphone going, what? What are you saying, Kathy? I can't hear you. So that's hilarious.
What I was saying was Ellen and I are no longer at the same church. And this past Sunday, they were officially introduced as new members at their new church. Mm-hmm. And 2 Sundays ago, we became official members at our new church. So it's kind of a bittersweet, but we're both very excited for one another. But where I was going with that is one of the things that we love to do whenever we are meeting new people is we like to hear their testimonies and how Christ saved them. And so I remember we sat around and talked for a long time. And I remember Chad made a joke about me because he's a joker and it's fine. I can handle it. And I said something along the lines of, no, you can't make that joke because I'm really a child that has special needs because my parents are mentally ill. And you could see him like, because we are just meeting, right? I was like, I'm going to play on this. So then I got to share my testimony and I feel like when you share your testimonies and how Christ saved you, it really shows like the person who you are, where you came from, and who you are now, and how God has grown and sanctifying you, and you just get excited, Yeah. And so I think that's partly why we were there for a long time talking.
Yeah.
But also, y'all, I got to tell you, side note, I think it was the week before we had dinner at your house. My husband and I went with some of our friends to Taste of Texas, which is a fancy restaurant here in the Houston area. And it's just, you have to go. If you're in Texas if you ever come visit us, you need to go to Taste of Texas. We just went
with our friends last week.
Yeah. Their steaks are great. But listen, y'all, the night that they had us over for steaks, Chad's steaks were by far better than Taste of Texas. And I was like, this can't even be possible. But Chad knows what he's doing when he makes steaks. So
yeah, my husband can grill. I have to brag on him about that. He can drive. if I had my choice between going to a steakhouse
Yeah.
and going to have a steak at my house, I would totally pick my husband.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Yep.
So that kind of started our friendship. I would say what really started to mold our friendship, and you tell me if you disagree with this or not. I would say, I don't know, a couple weeks after we had dinner with us and our pastor and his wife, just you guys,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband and me went out to dinner.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure it was the Italian restaurant over there in 1092.
Yes. Brandandy's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we had
So
a
much
blast.
fun. Yeah.
I mean, our husbands can banter back and forth for
Yeah.
days.
And by the way, my husband was the one that named this podcast.
And when we say
Short-
banter,
Yeah.
you tell them the name again.
Short Sisters. Motherly advice not too over your head.
So, Ellen, how tall are you?
I say I'm 4'11", but I'm really 4'10".
So she's 4'10", and I'm right at 5 foot. So when we get together, our husbands like to make fun of
Short jokes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's yep.
My husband actually made a meme because my husband has this. He can. I'm not kidding you. He can kick his leg high, and he was playing around. It was one of the times we were out,
Oh,
and he kicked his head over Kathy's head. He made a meme out of it.
I did not know that.
He slow-moed it and sent it to your husband.
That's fantastic.
I'm pretty sure you
I
haven't
think
seen
you're
it.
right.
He slow-moed it and sent it to your
I remember
husband.
him slow-moing that. I didn't know he made it into a
Maybe he didn't make it
meme.
into me. I'm thinking he just slow-moed it. But it was hilarious, y'all.
Yeah.
I mean, like his foot literally went over her head, and I
Yeah.
was just like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm just gonna apologize to my husband for my husband now because
So yeah, we love to gather together over a good meal, and we usually end up talking forever about everything from
everything.
anything, really,
A lot
anything
of times
politically,
it's-
cultural,
Yeah,
theology,
theology. Well, we can talk about that for hours.
yeah,
when we talk.
parenting comes up some.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot. And so in that process, Ellen and I were like, you know what? Let's transfer this into a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Let's create a podcast where we talk about motherhood and life and what God's doing in church
Mm-hmm.
and friends and family and the books that we're reading. So that brings us to why we're doing the podcast. But
Yeah.
before we jump into that, do you think I hit the nail on the head in regards to how our friendship started?
Yeah, I think so. I think that you covered everything because we were talking about what we were gonna discuss today, and I looked at her and I said, "Okay, I'm old, and it's been 3 years since we've met, so I'm gonna have to rethink about how exactly we started hanging out."
Yeah.
I know because my husband, before we merged, my husband was on the merge committee, and I think he had a chance to meet your husband.
Yes.
Before,
That's right. That's right.
before then. And
That's
then
right.
we had since my husband was on the merge committee,
That's right.
we had some kind of Q&A,
Yes.
and that's how I met everybody from BCR that was like on staff, and then like the
Yes.
elders, and
Yes.
I think it was just the elders and their wives.
And the other thing is that Ellen and Chad served alongside Jason at UPBC because
Yes.
Jason helped do the music ministry
Mhm,
and Ellen did the PowerPoint and
Mhm.
Chad did sound.
Mm-hmm.
So that also kind of helped us get closer, I think, as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And now we've been gathering together quite frequently.
At least once a week.
Yeah, to record podcasts.
Unless your babies are sick.
I know.
I know. There was a time where,
I felt like we were never going to
Yeah.
see each other.
yeah, because your baby was sick.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, we'll get recording on the
Mhm.
podcast. We've got this. So we're super excited though.
Yeah, same.
So
We've become so close now that
we literally, guys, we live 4 minutes away from each
Yeah.
other.
that
You-
might change.
You can't. I told her they're not allowed to move.
Yeah. we
Plus-
might end up moving, but we're not going to worry about that because
Nope.
it's not happening right now.
Nope.
But the other thing is, yes, we live 4 minutes
Mhm.
like literally 4 minutes
Across the highway.
It's crazy.
Yep.
But on top of that, this is how you know how close we've become. I think it was the last time you were here, maybe the time before that. When y'all left,
Mhm.
our baby cried.
It was the last time we were here.
She cried. She was very sad that Chad and Ellen were leaving. And I was like,
oh. Aw.
So
I'm practicing my grandmother skills because my daughter's expecting. She's 23 weeks now.
Yeah.
And so I've been having fun with their youngest.
yeah.
She was watching this video today. It was Coco Melon. And I guess it's very popular with babies because Kathy was explaining this to me. Because see, this is how mothering has changed. And
Yeah.
this was our thought process when we were coming up with this podcast. Because Kathy and I began to share with each other our heart for ministry, specifically for women,
Mhm.
young mothers. And just, we started talking about our struggles
Mhm.
as mothers and the stages that our children went through. And so we just started collaborating and talking and like, hey, you know what? What if we did this podcast? This would be really cool because our husbands originally started a podcast and I looked at Kathy. I said, okay, they cannot be having all the fun. We have to do a podcast. And actually our husbands looked at us like, really? Y'all are going to do a podcast? Not like they didn't believe in us, but they were just, I guess, a little bit surprised that we were
Mhm.
thinking about it because I don't
Mhm.
think they were expecting us to come in behind them and do a podcast. So the way we record our podcast is the guys go first and then we go after them.
Mhm.
But we really wanted to reach out to mothers and just be able to talk about issues alongside that.
Yeah, it definitely started that way. And then as we got into it, we started running with more ideas like book reviews. And I started thinking about how we both love teaching women in general. And so
Mhm.
then I was like, well, let's not make it specifically about motherhood, but somehow still let it be kind of like the heart behind why we're doing the podcast,
Mhm.
but also allow freedom to discuss other things. So, we've got some ideas and stuff, and obviously would love input from our friends and family that
Yes,
follow.
please.
Like if you have questions or like, hey, I would love to hear this thought process.
Mhm.
So one of our big goals is that we want women. I guess it doesn't have to just be women, but whoever listens, we want them to walk away knowing God and loving people more.
Mhm.
And our hope and prayer is that the things that we say and talk about and share will first and foremost bring glory to the Father, but also would encourage
Mhm.
those of you who are listening, would encourage you, and you would you would feel love and welcome
Mhm.
by us. But I will be the first to say I am not an expert. I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm not perfect. I don't sometimes have it all together, and I am learning right along with everybody on how to live life, how to love God, how to love people. And so I hope that you're not coming here for expert advice. I'm just a mom that loves people, loves God, and loves her children,
Mhm.
and loves to get together with other women talking about life.
Yeah.
And that's the goal we have here.
Yeah.
And Ellen I'm excited to have Ellen on here because Ellen is going to come at it in some ways and at times, as she should, from different perspective. We're coming from different angles in some things. You'll see that in some of the discussions we have planned. And we come from a different generation too.
Yeah.
Ellen, which you'll hear in the next podcast, I believe. She's an empty nester, and I am a mom of ones that still live at home.
Mhm.
So there's a difference in that perspective as well. But at the end, what unifies Ellen and me is Jesus.
Yep.
And our love for people.
Mhm.
So that's our goal, is just to get together and talk
Yeah.
and share. And we'd love for you guys to ask questions. And there are going to be times where we're going to have some guest speakers, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah. You just have to talk to your husband about
I
how we're going to
know.
fit everybody in here.
Yes.
And if we have extra mics.
Yes. Did we answer everything that we wanted to say to
So
those who are listening?
our hope, I think, for this podcast is like what Kathy said, is to have the different perspectives of motherhood. And I like how you said that we will have different perspectives because my oldest is 26 and my youngest is 19. So it's been a minute since I've had little ones in my house. And I'm actually about to be a grandma. So, going at it at that perspective.
That's very exciting. I'm excited about that.
Yes, I'm excited. And my daughter's having a little girl. So we're super excited about that. She's very happy about that. But I'm hoping that if there's a time where a mother is struggling, or even just anybody in general, you don't even have to be a mother, where you're struggling with just different issues, because we are going to be talking about different topics. Like I think one of our topics, our series, we're going to be doing a series. When we do our podcast, we'll do it in a series form, where we're talking about mental health and and we're hoping to have guest speakers on that with, because we know people who are Christian counselors and we like to get their input on that. And just different life issues, like as far as, raising a child. I'm a mother. I worked full time when my kids went to school, and my kids went to a public school. So they were seeing and hearing things that probably where my husband and I, our values, that's not what we taught our kids at home. So I'm going to be looking at it from that perspective, like a working mother. So, I just with talking with Kathy, on her being a mother of young children, also homeschooling, I had no idea. Like, I hate to say this, but I had preconceived notions about how people did homeschool, how they acted and certain things. But like just getting to know Kathy, I have learned a lot about homeschooling, and then having younger kids that are not quite homeschool age. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, friend, how do you do this? Because
I'm still wondering how do I do this. No,
she's kidding. So good though. Oh my gosh. I was telling her she could be she could have been the Coco Melon. If you will see her baby is so cute. Anyways, I think also our plan for this podcast is we're really hoping to reach out to people. And I think we're hoping to launch our episodes. Also, hopefully we'll have Facebook page where people can go comment or ask questions, and Kathy and I will keep up with that. But also hopefully we're thinking as well, maybe once things progress, hoping to do some kind of blog or do a web page eventually down the road. So we're really wanting to take this as much as we can. And really, we we have both prayed to be able to minister to women.
Mm-hmm.
And we just really thought that this outlet would be a really cool and exciting place to do that. So that's
Yeah.
our plan for this podcast. And we really hope that you guys will be a part of that and come and look forward to us. Like, we're totally going to be hitting up our friends and family and be
Mhm.
like, please like us, please comment, ask us questions.
Tell us what we can do better, even like how we can grow better.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, that's how Ellen and I met, and
Mhm.
that's part of our hope and dreams of this podcast.
Mhm.
And we hope that you like it and that you share it and that you offer input.
Yes.
And that is it for this episode.
Yeah. This is our very first one.
It is.
And
And don't ask us what the next episode numbers will be because they're all over the place.
we're just like, hey, we're
know-
looking on our list going, okay, let's do that today.
We know that this one, though,
It's
is the
organized.
first one.
Well, we just need to tell your husband not to call you or text you.
What in the world? Sorry about that, 20-second intermission there.
Ew. I'm not kidding you. It's like a phone is ringing in your ears and you're talking and you're like, whoa, okay.
Anyway,
All right.
yes, thank you for
We are
listening.
fun
We are. Lots of fun.
and we laugh and giggle a lot, which is what you need to do. And you will see in some of our podcasts, we shed tears.
Yeah, there are. I don't know if you've ever done the Myers-Briggs test before, the
Mm-mm.
Myers-Briggs personality test.
No.
But I'm going to send you a link. You should do
Okay.
it.
Yeah, we should talk about that on our podcast.
I bet we should.
Okay.
Yes, let's do it.
Idea.
I bet. I'm
We'll
gonna
talk about our results.
look. I'm gonna tell her what she is right now, and then I'll tell you if I was right next episode.
Okay.
You are an I. You're an introvert, so that's I.
Mm-hmm. Right so far. This is totally out of my element, by the way, guys.
You are probably. I don't know about that second one. My husband's gonna hate this part of the podcast. He hates Myers-Briggs and all the personality tests. I bet you're an N. I bet you're an F. Are you a feeler? Do you cry a lot
Yes.
and respond to emotions quickly? Do you not
Yes.
think things through?
Yes.
I mean, there's more to it than just
Check.
that.
Check.
Okay, so you're
Check.
definitely an I and an F. Are you a J? Are you you have to you're very scheduled. It's this, it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, to a certain extent.
So you might be, for the S and the N, you might be right in the middle, and the J and the P. J is very everything is scheduled and organized, and the way I think about it is black and white. It's there's no gray. You know what I mean?
It's to a certain extent I am.
So I wonder. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to guess that you are an I, an N, an F, and a J.
Okay.
Now I'm going to
Mark
send
that.
you the link,
Okay.
and you're going to have to tell me what your results are.
Okay.
I'll tell you guys what mine are in case you don't know. I'm an E for sure.
Duh. Her and my husband are very extroverted. Excuse me.
I'm an
very
N.
extroverted. Her husband and I are very introverted.
I'm an N.
Uh-huh.
That stands for intuition. So an example is I can walk into a room and I
Uh-huh.
know that something's okay, these people are sat over here. There's something going over here. There's something here. Okay, what can I do to help?
I'm like that.
So you're,
Sometimes I am like that.
I'm an
too.
F.
Mhm.
There's no question about that. And then I am right in the middle of J and P.
Okay.
I tend to lean more towards the P side, but I can be J. So my results are usually E, N, F, and P. But I am an organized, like doer, black and white type of person at times. So
Okay. Send me that
Anyway.
link. We'll talk about that.
yeah,
Well,
I love that idea. My
Yeah.
husband won't like the idea at all. He really is very, very, very strong opinions on personality tests and all of that. So anyway, thank you all for listening to
Yes.
Short Sisters.
Yes.
We're very excited.
By the way, my husband came up with that
He
title.
did.
If we didn't mention it, because we were trying to think of something cute and clever, and he was like, and then they were trying to come up with lyrics for us to sing, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah, we're not doing that.
no, we're not singing for you. It's okay, but we did take a cute picture, so it'll be on the podcast page.
Anyway, well,
Anyways.
thank you guys for tuning in to listen to our first podcast.
Yeah.
And we're very excited
Yeah.
and cannot wait to see what God does with this. And we hope
Yeah.
you guys have a great.
Yes, please walk this journey with us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys later.
All right. See y'all later.
Bye.